Good morning, everybody. Are we ready to get started? All right. Welcome. I will call the meeting to order at 9:04 a.m. First up, let's do a round of introductions. I'm Nancy Wise, Commissioner and Chair.
Pat Malone, Commissioner and Vice Chair.
Zan Ogerow, Commissioner.
Joe Kirby, County Administrator.
Grant Crony, County Council.
And we'll go to introductions in the room for those who'd like to introduce themselves, and then go to introductions online.
Good morning, Gary Nichols, Community Development Director.
Suzanne Hoffman, Health Department. April Holland, Public Health. Jen Engel, Financial Services Department.
Craig, Chief Financial Officer.
Teresa Steve, Grant Manager. Benedict, Administrative Specialist.
John Weber, Morgan Resident, Public Information Officer.
Julie Jackson, Health Services.
Paul, Community Shelter.
Jenny Walker, Community Shelter.
Welcome, everyone. Let's see, let's move to introductions online.
Jeff Van Arsdal, Benton County Sheriff.
And is there anyone else online who would like to introduce themselves?
Sam Imperati, Work Group Facilitator.
All right, welcome everyone. With that, we can move along to announcements. Are there any announcements? Hearing none, we will move into comments from the public. We will take public comment in the room first and then public comment online. Each person may have up to 3 minutes. And let's see, I have a list somewhere. So first up, I have Marge Pop. Come on up to the table there. And I will start your 3 minutes when you start.
Good morning, Commissioners. My statement is regarding the solid waste process work group. On Sunday evening at 6:16 p.m., we volunteers forming the solid waste process work group received an email from Sam Imperati, the facilitator, greeting us. Happy Sunday evening. I have attached the working agenda and supporting materials for Thursday's meeting. Attached to this email were 13 documents totaling 133 pages of detailed, disorganized, difficult to parse, and in some cases, indecipherable spreadsheet pages upon which we are expected to opine. How, as a volunteer, unschooled in the minutia of county code and land use law, however devoted to this project, supposed to deal with that? Especially since many of the documents contained little hint of what we were supposed to do with them or the context within which they reside. There has been no attempt on the part of the facilitation staff to abstract larger concepts from raw detailed data, despite members' appeals. Significant facts and important concepts are side by side with ludicrously inappropriate and meaningless trivia. Item 6 on our agenda for Thursday's meeting, in the best totalitarian tradition, reads, quick check-in. Are you willing to fully and collaboratively support the board's direction on this charge? Please provide your reasoning regardless of your answer. Are we to suppose that the Board of Commissioners wishes our work group to eschew our personal lives entirely in order to process and somehow make meaning of this overwhelming data dump? Is it not the job of the facilitation staff to provide digestible and meaningful information? There has been little attempt made by the facilitator throughout this process to summarize, place in context, or even explain the intent of the material we have received and been asked to organize, rate, evaluate, and absorb. And several of us have spent a significant amount of time and energy hoping to educate him to our concerns. I am frustrated, overwhelmed, and I feel sad to report that I am at my wit's end.
Thank you, Marge. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to testify? Hearing none, we will move online. First up, I have Ken Eklund. And I have a request from Ken Eklund to screen share. And I'm not sure if we have that capability currently, or if I could get some.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that answer.
Sorry, Ken, you should be able to go ahead and share your screen with the
Oh.
green.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, as soon as you are ready, I will start your timer for 3 minutes.
Great. Let's see, can you see that screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good morning, Commissioners Muldoon, Wise, and Ojero. I'm addressing matter 8.1 on the agenda regarding questions raised by you about the Talks Trash work group. First, I would like to comment on item 3 in the facilitator's memo, page 203 of your packet. So that's what is showing here on the screen. It concerns a request relayed by a member of the work group for a non-work group member to address the work group specifically about the future of waste management in Benton County. Frankly, I'm surprised to find it here on the Board of Commissioners agenda. I would think the facilitator would bring such a matter before the work group itself so that the work group could evaluate whether or not they wanted to hear what the non-work group member had to say. So the next slide. Also, I would think that this question by the facilitator has already been answered by your one table directive. You would like the work group to be the one table where matters of value to the work group are presented, no matter where they originate. I think you intended for the facilitator to facilitate this for the work group. This relates directly to item 2 in the facilitator's memo. I urge you to express to the facilitator that it's very important that the work group engage with these questions. When is it likely the landfill will close? How do we reduce the amount of landfill waste generated in Benton County? What are the county's options for its solid waste future? Whether or not the work group makes a recommendation should be up to the work group. I don't think that you intended for the one table directive to attract valuable ideas only for them not to ever actually be allowed onto the table itself, but that's what's currently happening. It seems a bit silly that the work group convened expressly to consider the future of solid waste in Benton County is asking if it's a good idea to consider the future of solid waste in Benton County, but here we are. Right now, there is nothing in the works group agenda, nothing in the works group's agenda that sees any farther ahead than the next conditional use permit application. And efforts by the work group to get the future of solid waste onto its agenda are being stifled by procedural runarounds such as this one. If you do take up this question by the facilitator, I urge you to direct the facilitator to let the work group decide for itself what will be of value to it, to confirm that it has agency in its own agenda in this matter and others like it. I urge you to empower the work group to evaluate which matters that come to the one table are valuable and relevant, and to release matters that aren't from the one table directive. Please confirm that it's very important that the work group engage with the county's options for its solid waste future. This work group should know about the net zero program underway in McMinnville. It should know about the Zero Waste Initiative. It should know about producer responsibility and its ramifications. It should know what the timeline is for the landfill, about the decision points along the way that will affect that timeline. All of these are vital, it seems to me, for the work group to fulfill its charter, to properly scope a plan forward for the county, one that reflects the county's values. I think many of the work group's members signed up expressly to have a voice in just these matters. That's the end of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. And next up, I have Debbie Palmer.
Okay, can you hear me and see me? I still see Ken on the screen.
Yes, I can see you. Ken, do you have a way to not to stop screen sharing? Oh,
Yeah, okay, sorry, I'm trying to figure that out.
There should be
There.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. Debbie, go ahead.
All right. Good morning, Commissioners Ojero, Wise, and Malone. I want to speak to you this morning about the Trash Talk Work Group in the landfill. But first, I need to let you know that I am an introvert, which means, among other things, I am anxious and uncomfortable speaking in public. I have to write out what I want to say ahead of time, so please forgive any shakiness in my voice. I am pushing through that anxiety and discomfort, though, because I feel it is more important that you be made aware of certain things. First and foremost, Sam Imperati, the work group's moderator, is misrepresenting the community's point of view regarding the landfill. He's under the impression we want to close the landfill as soon as possible. This is not true. We just want it to stop expanding. We want the operators to go ahead and use the already permitted space they have, and then when that's full, close it and revegetate it as described on their own website's FAQ page. And then we want the county to take that time, 10, 15 years, to plan for post-closure waste management. There are intentionally sited landfills and accidental ones. Intentionally sited landfills are in dry climates remote from human habitation and water tables. Dry climate because the wetter the landfill, the greater the methane and leachate production. Remote from human habitation and water tables is self-explanatory. Republic Services has an intentional landfill just across the Columbia River in Washington, the Roosevelt landfill. It gets less than 8.5 inches of rain a year. It is underlain by over 300 feet of solid clay with, quote, 1,500 feet of separation from the bottom of the landfill to the closest regional aquifer. And it is in a county with a population of less than 300 people. Compare that to the Coffin Butte landfill in Benton County, which has a population of over 92,000 and averages 58 inches of rainfall per year. But back to my point, Coffin Butte landfill is an accidentally sited landfill, an accident of World War II in Camp Adair. It was never intended to be long-term, never designed to get this huge. But unless you put a stop to it, this landfill will continue to expand ad infinitum. I am a member of the community group VNEX, Valley Neighbors for Environmental Quality and Safety. I encourage you to visit our website, coffinbuttefacts.org. There you will see that what unites us is opposition to expansion, not closing as soon as possible. Bottom line is, I believe we all want the same thing. We want to do something to combat the climate crisis. Landfills are just below the oil and gas industry as top greenhouse gas emitters. We want a better plan for the future of solid waste management in Benton County. I believe that was the original intention of the Trash Talk Work Group, not to come up with the plan, but to engage in a process that would lead to that plan. And I also believe that is the primary reason for those who applied to be in the work group. Alas, Mr. Imperati seems to not be helping us down that path. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. And one of my favorite quotes I like to remind myself is speak even if your voice shakes. So no judgment. Is there anyone else online who would like to testify? Hearing none, we will move on. Next up is to review and approve the agenda. I do have one change to make to the agenda. I'm going to rearrange a little bit after work session item 4.2. We're going to move to old business item 8.1, just for ease of having our staff here and getting it all done in a timely manner. Any other changes to the agenda? All right, I will consider that approved. Moving into our work session, first up, we have the COVID update from Department Operations Center. And with us in person, we have Suzanne Hoffman and April Holland. Welcome.
Good morning, commissioners. As always, I'm
honored to join April Holland as she provides you with her regular update on the Health Department Operations Center and COVID-19 update. April?
Thank you, Suzanne. Good morning, Commissioners, Joe, Vance, everyone here. It's nice to see you in 3D, many of you for the first time. So update for you today. Gratefully, the pandemic looks very different than it did in March 2020, to be sure. But as we know, it's still with us and continues to disrupt our lives. And right now we're tipping into the fall and winter season, and reported cases have started to increase. CDC reported the case rate in Benton County as 117 per 100,000 residents. And that's up from 77 per 100,000 from the last update 2 weeks ago. Hospitalization